Brett Allen here. Thanks for watching and listening. Today we are talking more Reginald the Vampire, which is a fantastic show. We've had pretty much the entire cast and more coming today. Georgia Waters, who is a part of this fantastic show, and many others as well, including a great show that I loved and was sad when it ended, Sirens.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that later if you
Yeah.
want. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Yes, well, let's talk about this because this is such a great and meaningful show, and of course, based on the
Mm.
books, The Fat
Yeah.
Vampire. Having talked to Jacob Batalon about this, I'm very interested to hear from you as
Yeah.
far as your take on this and what your experience has been,
Mhm.
having been a part of such. It's a funny show, but it also there's a lot more deeper meanings to it than just the humor that exists in it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely one of those shows that works on different layers. And if you just want to be entertained, then it provides that. But then it also works and, it challenges what our perception of the hero or perfection should be.
Yeah.
And also questions what we should be valuing, with the world of social media. So often we are valuing perfection. People are injecting themselves and like editing themselves, like doing crazy stuff. And I think those kind of themes show up in our show of like these vampires are perfect, but actually they're entirely flawed. And then you have Reginald, who's like a kind-hearted, charming individual, and he's rejected by the vampires, and actually maybe he's exactly what we need. So
Yeah, it's very much that anti-hero idea that you guys tackle in the show, which I think is so important because, it's ironic having been in the Spider-Man franchise and all these other
yeah,
films, and he was like, well, it's not a dig on any of that necessarily, but it sort of takes the idea that we have as human beings of what a hero may or may not look like and sort of flipping it on its head. Your character is a lot of fun, I have to say. How fun was this to make? I mean, it had to just be a riot to be a part of it because the cast that you have is just so spectacular,
yeah,
yourself included, obviously.
yeah. I mean, the cast really makes it when you get on with everyone, and we do. When everyone is in the same town, we hang out still now, even though we've wrapped. But whilst we're doing it, because it was in Victoria, we're all staying there in hotels. So it felt like being at college again, kind of down each other's corridors, having takeouts like, late at night. And obviously, everyone's so talented as well. So when you're doing the comedy scenes, it's really fun bouncing off each other. Harder trying to hold it together and not laugh whilst you're doing it. But
Yeah.
I feel so lucky to have been part of how wonderful everyone is.
Yes, well, you all do a spectacular job. And when I first heard about this coming out on Sci-Fi, I was very excited about it because I had read the book,
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah. So I mean, I kind of, sort of had ideas of what it might look like, but you all just did such a beautiful job, and your writers and your directors, um,
that's good.
just really make it such a fun project.
Yeah,
Um, and of course, with all the episodes and that sort of thing, I think people who have not had a chance to watch or participate in it yet, you definitely need to. I mean, there's a strong case to be made for that, I would say, for sure.
definitely. And this time of year is the right time of year for it as well. So
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah, I think as I said before, it offers something to everyone, and but it's also very heartwarming. It kind of I think it's a comfort watch. It's one that makes you feel warmer and uplifted afterwards. Whereas I think a lot of stuff in the horror genre, everyone loves the scare factor, but actually sometimes you just need something that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I think that's true. And again, it is spooky season, obviously, but
It
it
is.
does warm your heart to a point too, which I think is really
Yes.
good. And you find
There is
yourself.
horror for those that still like the blood and the gore. There's still that.
Yeah. So where did your storytelling journey begin, Georgia? Because again, as I mentioned, you've been a part of some really hallmark things, but where did that begin for you? How did the interest spark in your career?
I think I was trying to figure out where it started. I think I always just knew I was going to be a storyteller. It just I wasn't sure in what form. Because I read so much when I was a kid and I watched films all the time, and that was kind of my real escapism. I was always in imaginary worlds. Like all my report cards were like, Georgia really excels, but she's always daydreaming. So I was never really in reality. But so I knew that was the world for me. And then but I studied English literature at university. Um, I guess that was kind of the pleasing the parents. Like, I'm doing a degree, but whilst doing that, I got involved in loads of theatre productions, and they do them at the Oxford Playhouse, which is a beautiful, huge theatre, and so lucky to be able to use that space. And that's where I got scouted. So like, oh, maybe this could actually happen. And so the rest has kind of fallen from there, where I graduated and decided to pursue acting. I'm also trying to dip back into the writing now as well, to kind of, as an actor, you have limited amount of control over the stories you tell. So I think there's a lot of stories that I do want to tell. So writing is going to be my way of quenching that thirst as well.
Yeah, I like that. That's a very good point to be made. It's like, because you're really relying upon the directors and the
Yeah.
writers more so than the directors, obviously, to create the words, obviously, and to get that message. But then as a writer, if you can create your own projects and still
Yeah.
have it be successful, that's, a double win.
Definitely. And even if they're not successful, it's still nice to have that outlet as well. There's kind of the other creative side, because usually you're just performing someone else's words that they've written. It's quite nice having be able to craft those yourself as well.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of books behind you.
Oh yeah.
Are you an avid reader, or is that
I am. Yeah, well, I did
okay?
English literature
Okay.
at university, and that involved a lot of reading. But that is kind of my way of grounding myself. If I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed, if I spend an hour reading, then again, that kind of takes me out of whatever situation I'm in, and calms me down. So
Yeah, instead of looking at a script all of the time, you can actually
yeah,
cleanse the
well,
palate a bit and
yeah,
read other things.
exactly. Without the pressure of knowing that I've got to learn those lines as well.
Yes, well, I encourage people to watch this. It's on the Sci-Fi Network, Reginald the Vampire, available to stream the next day. I do want to talk as we wrap here about Sirens. That was such a great show. We've had periodic cast members on over the years since it ended,
Mm,
who were sort of a part of it. It was such a smart and different kind of show that had ever been out there. So,
really,
yeah, let's just talk about that just in a short, brief moment here, sort of your memories from that and sort of what your
yeah.
experience was like, because it was so fun and so different and very mysterious too.
It was very mysterious, a very vivid world that they created. Um, Aline, who played Rin, the lead mermaid, did such a fantastic job of carving out how the mermaid should move, how we should speak, how we learn, and the writers as well. Just, I mean, everyone involved did just such a phenomenal job. And as an actor, it was such a gift being on that set and working with such lovely people. And again, it was another show that worked on many levels. On the surface level, you had the mermaid story interacting with the human world and all the conflict that comes with that. But then on the other level, they're tackling environmental issues, refugee issues, kind of otherness, and divisive, the divisive communities that we're in now, where we're kind of told to hate people who are different. So yeah, I think it was a brilliant show that kind of tackled everything, and
Yeah.
I learned a lot as well, kind of with the diving and underwater things.
One of the things that I found so fascinating about that show is that the mermaids or mermen, whatever, sort of were progressive and learned, and this sort of AI that existed
Yeah.
they adapted quite quickly. And I think they found the humans on the other side found it so fascinating and interesting that they did learn so quickly and they
Yeah.
kind of adapted to the world, kind of like Westworld. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but
Yes.
the
Yeah.
robots sort of have now obviously become part of everyday life on that show. But
Yeah.
initially, how they started learning and adapting, it was a very smart show. You did a great job. Everybody did a great job, and that's also available to watch and stream on some platform somewhere out there, which is another great piece of work that
It
you've
is.
been in.
Well,
I
thank
really appreciate your time. Again, I always find actors and storytellers extremely fascinating because your world is so different. But
you.
Reginald is definitely a can't miss. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to see what else you might have coming. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're quite busy for sure.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see. We'll see what happens with Reginald the vampire. That would be a great treat if we can return to that. And yeah, just seeing what the future may hold. Hopefully, one of my writing projects, and also actually, I did a little mini series with one of the Reginald the vampire cast, which we just saw a preview of that last week. So that was exciting, and that was comedy, which straight out comedy, no being a vampire or mermaid. So a lawyer, a
Yeah,
serious.
you've had a chance to play some really fun characters. I think that's what's so fun about your job is
Yeah,
literally like you could play anything. And I think that's cool.
yeah, yeah. It's make believe worlds, all the kind of fantasy stuff that I was reading as a kid. Now that's my life as an adult, which is great.
I love it. Well, Georgia, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you have a lovely evening.